Welcome to Beyond the Numbers, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate, appraisal, and everything in between. Whether you're just starting to explore the appraisal profession or measuring your career in decades, this podcast is for you. I'm Kevin Hecht, Appraisal Training and Development Manager at McKissock. And each week, I'm thrilled to bring you expert insights, thought-provoking conversations, and stories from industry leaders, innovators, and disruptors. From education and industry news to marketing tips, tax strategies, and even a few war stories, we cover the topics that matter most to appraisers and real estate professionals. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Numbers, the podcast for real estate appraisers who want more than just boilerplate forms and checkbox thinking. We're here to talk about what's changing, what's coming, and how to stay sharp in an industry that's evolving fast. I'm your host, Kevin Hecht, Senior Appraisal Instructor, Chartered Economist, and Content Strategist at McKissock. Today, my guest is Meyer, appraiser, AI strategist, entrepreneur, a guy who's helping professionals work smarter, find new opportunities, and keep their edge in a changing market. If you've ever wondered how to use technology without losing the human touch, this episode's for you. So Roy, first off, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
No, thanks for having me here, Kevin. I'm excited. We got a lot to share and looking forward to it. Appreciate the opportunity to get the word out.
Awesome. And we do have a lot, so let's just jump right in. So you call yourself an AI strategist, an international speaker, proud dad, world traveler, and appraiser. How do those roles feed into each other in your life and your work?
So it's a lot of roles there, right? So, really my life almost looks like 5 different careers if you look at it. But they all really basically feed into pretty much the same mindset. Appraising has really over the years taught me precision. We've been in the outsourcing space for quite some time, and that has really taught me the angle of leverage. We have traveled a lot over the last 7 or 8 years, and that has really helped me to gain a lot of different perspectives and being able to adapt. Which we've had to do many times over the past 8 years. And then obviously being a dad really helps me to stay focused on what matters, in our lives. And so really, if you blend all of those together into the strategies that I use with AI, that's where the goal is for the most part. And is to, we want to be able to create more impact, without adding more hours into our day. But they have all really blended in together nicely. And it really all flows into how I leverage and work with AI as well.
Yeah. That's great. And, being adaptable and we're in the midst of a whole lot of change in this industry. And I find it interesting that you've been using virtual assistants in real estate for almost 20 years. What lessons from those early days guide you now? Because we know, again, the change that's happened over the last 20 years is astronomical.
When I started talking about virtual assistants in the industry and outsourcing, about 20 years ago, there was a lot of pushback because most people in industry didn't really understand what that was or how it could help them. As a matter of fact, one of the issues was people would hear what they wanted to hear, and people thought I was using VAs to actually do our reports, which was never really the case, or was never the case. What we were leveraging our VAs at the time was to market and grow our business. Now, the same thing happened with AI. And when I started talking about AI back in December 2022, a lot of pushback, a lot of negativity on it. But now appraisers are finally starting to see that it's not going away, and this is no longer a tool that they can ignore in their business. And really the lesson that I learned is, like with any new technology, is that the biggest hurdle typically, and especially with AI, is understanding. And once people see how it works for them and how they can leverage it in their business, then typically, just like when I was working with virtual assistants in the beginning, adoption tends to follow with more clarity and more understanding. And so as we kind of make this transition from VAs into AI, really my job, I kind of feel, is to bridge that gap faster, on the AI understanding so that appraisers can start, getting the benefits a lot sooner. So there's a lot of similarities, Kevin, on between the two as far as understanding what it is, how it can help. And, the more we get understanding, then the more the adoption comes. And I think we're seeing that now finally on the AI space, just like on the virtual assistant space. I think now virtual assistants are pretty common, right?
Yeah.
You hear about that all the time. Same thing now. We're starting to get a little bit more understanding of what AI is, how it can help. We're starting to see more and more appraisers start to come on board, which is really fun and exciting to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, it's the buzzword in the industry right now, and everybody's trying to figure out how it fits. And so, you're big on using AI to kill the busy work. What's an example you can share where AI saved you some time?
Well, it's always been about kind of killing the busy work, right? And a lot of times in the past, that has been leveraging virtual assistants to do that. Now, as far as killing time or helping us to become more efficient with AI, which is, one of the big benefits of it,
Mhm.
is first of all, obviously data analysis. That's a given. That's really where all of the discussion in our industry is right now, is on the data analysis side, which I actually think most people are missing the boat on how they can leverage AI, because it's not just a data analysis tool. We have this incredible power now to be able to help or leverage AI to help us do pretty much anything, to help us solve almost any problem, to help us to grow and scale and diversify our business. And what most appraisers don't realize is that they have that power at their fingertips. Now, to get back to an example that you were talking about, like how can we leverage this to improve our time? We have a large firm that we're working with right now, and one of the things that we did, and we're building out for them right now, is we're using a tool called Claude.
Mhm.
Now, the listeners may or may not have heard of Claude. It's a competitor, ChatGPT. It's CLAUDE.ai. And what we've done within Claude, which is a very similar model, is we have basically built out an AI or company command center. And what this AI is able to do, it's able to handle all of their scheduling, all of their managing, all of their tracking, their communications. It's able to do, the team notifications, automatically send out emails, go ahead and schedule on their calendars, where all of this stuff they actually used to have to do manually. And so the projections now, as we are just wrapping up this project, is they are going to be saving about 25 hours a week
Wow.
in the way they operate within their business. Now, we could have never done that before without leveraging AI. So to be able to have AI come in and work like a command center that can do all of these things that we used to have to do manually is really powerful, within our business. So that would be one small example. I could probably give you hundreds, if we had all day to talk. But it's more than just data analysis. There's so many different ways that we can leverage it, and that's one small example.
Yeah. And well, I don't think that's a small example. That sounds like a pretty big example, but a good indication of other things. Because you're right. I think a lot of appraisers look at data analysis as the key piece, but there's so many other things that it can do. Now, you've
Yeah,
also
and if
said, oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Kevin. Yeah, if I could just touch on that too, because data analysis is important, and what we can do with AI now, the way we can analyze our data and what we can do is amazing. However, one of the things I love to share in regards to AI is how we can leverage it to grow and market and scale and diversify our business. And what I always like to share with appraisers is, hey, data analysis is important, but boy, if you don't have the work to apply that data analysis to, then it becomes a little bit of a mute point. So we want to do them both hand in hand and not just focus on the data analysis part, but wait a second, how can I use AI to actually grow my business so that really becomes, I can take advantage of that important part.
Yeah. And that actually kind of leads into the next question. Because you've said that AI can shift people from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. Uh, when did that shift create a breakthrough for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I did a LinkedIn post recently about what's more beneficial, less negative thinking or more positive thinking. As we move forward, on the mindset shift. And for me to answer to your question, really that mind shift happened for me the moment that ChatGPT came out in I think it was November 2022, and I was actually in the Philippines doing a big event, and the partner I was with at the time showed it to me, and we were looking at that, and like I instantly recognized this is going to change the world, and we decided immediately, okay, we've got to dive into this 24/7. And now I think I heard recently it's been trained on like the equivalent of roughly I think it's like 1 billion books. If you take
Uh,
all the books, you take all the YouTube videos, you take all the papers that have been, everything that's consumed, and you put all of that knowledge into a book. I've heard the number was like 1 billion books with 100% recall. So we have this incredible power that appraisers don't realize right at their fingertips that we can tap into. So many times we need to move away from really the fear and the scarcity of what AI is and really focus on more of the abundance of how it can help us create more, serve more, help us both personally and professionally. And now this tool, if we learn how to look at it from a different perspective, allows us to really do that. So, but for me, the big opener was, or the big aha was when we were in the Philippines, we were doing that event in December 2022. I'm like, oh my word. A matter of fact, even on that, Kevin, we were at the time, and one of the reasons I was in the Philippines at that time is were starting an international internship program at a particular college where we were training them on how to work with U.S. employers, how to become successful once they graduate out of college. We had been preparations for a year in putting that program together, and ChatGPT rolls out in November. We're just getting ready to launch, and we had everybody had gone through all these applications to be part of the program, and we had to break bad news to them in that, we're sorry, we're not going to teach you on everything you thought you were going to learn. What we are now going to do is we are going to pivot this program, and it is now going to be strictly an AI program. So we actually created, I think it might have been the first on the planet, first AI international internship program, because we felt if we can train somebody on AI, how to leverage it, there is absolutely nothing that they can't do. If somebody wants to learn social media marketing, that's great. They can learn that. But if they don't know anything about AI, they're going to become irrelevant. If I can teach somebody how to leverage AI, they can become a brilliant social media marketer. So once again, that was a big aha for me on a lot of different levels. And we're still, we still have that program today. So got a little
yeah.
off track there, but anyway,
Well, hey, that's the thing. I mean, this is such an overwhelming process, and there's so much that goes into it. And you talked about the billion books and how it's, constantly changing. And I think that one of the things that a lot of appraisers are the way they look at it, well, okay, I get this is all great, but there's just too much. I'm overwhelmed. So what's the simplest first step that an appraiser could take today to start to understand and use AI?
and boy, that's really common, Kevin, and even myself. We're in this 24/7. It is impossible to keep up with what is happening. I mean, there is a new squirrel to chase every single day, and if we're trying to keep up and we're trying to constantly learn, but we are never applying, then it becomes a mute point. And so instead of worrying about I'm behind, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do, there's too many things out there, I'm overwhelmed. Where I would recommend that an appraiser starts with is that look at your business, look at your model, see where you're at, have AI meet you where you're at. Where's the bottleneck in your business? What's one thing that in your business you want to streamline or you want to improve? And then find the AI tool, probably going to be a ChatGPT on some level for most of those. But like, okay, this is what I want to do. Here's chat that can help me do this. And I am just going to focus on that one thing in my business that AI can help me do. I'm going to get that working. I'm not going to worry about anything else. I just want to move the needle forward in my business. And then I can tackle the next thing. And one thing, Kevin, that I recommend that appraisers could do if they don't know where to start, this comes back to learning to have the conversation where you're actually talking to it like it's a person. And but what I mean by that is I would go in, I'd put on my voice to text. I use something called Voice In. It's a Google Chrome extension. And I do this every day. I go to chat and I'm say, hey, chat, I just want to have a conversation here. I'm a real estate appraiser in such and such. This is what I've got going on. I am really overwhelmed with everything that's going on right now. I'm new to AI. I'm not sure where to start. I don't know what you can do. I'd like to kind of work through this situation. What I do know is my X and my Y. I know that right now this is a problem that I want to solve in my business. I know that this is where I want to get to, but I don't know where to start. So, what I need you to do is ask me any clarifying questions. I want you to take the lead, and I'm going to follow along for the ride. Do you understand what I'm asking? And chat's going to respond. Hey, Roy, absolutely. You're new, you're an appraiser, you're new to AI, you're not sure what to work, but you're trying to solve this problem. You're not sure what to do. I'm going to ask you some questions. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to take the lead and I'm going to help you solve that problem. So, coming back to your question, that is the key. Learning to have that conversation and just having an open, conversation. Be honest, and you're going to be amazing at what you can solve. And going back to what I just mentioned, as long as you know what you want to solve, the goal you're trying to achieve, where you're trying to get to, you go in, you talk with AI, you give it the parameters, it's going to guide you. You don't have to know. You just have to know a couple simple questions like that to get started, and you're going to be amazed at the progress you can make. And matter of fact, you could even, when you're going in there, say, "Hey, I need you now." Okay, great. Well, another thing I'll share is two parameters. It's usually time and money within an appraiser's business. I want to make more money. I want to diversify. But if we understand, okay, I want to diversify my business and I want to be doing another 10 grand in private work within the next 90 days, next 180 days, whatever it is. Now you've got a time and you've got your other variable. You can go into chat and just say, hey, same thing. Hey, chat, I'm an appraiser right now. Probably 90% of our work is lender work. I'm new to AI. I'm not sure exactly what you can do, but what I would like to do within the next 180 days is increase my non-lender work by 10,000 a month. So we need to have a talk here today. Ask me any questions you want. And by the end of our conversation, I want you to be able to give me with clarity an exact plan to help us achieve that, including milestones and what I need to do on a daily basis to make that happen. All comes back to that conversation. So I'm not even sure, Kevin, of your original question, but hopefully that was helpful for
No,
everybody.
absolutely. And I think the key there, and you used the word several times, is a conversation. I think people don't realize how you can talk to ChatGPT, to Claude. You can have that conversation. I always joke, and I am joking, be nice, because when they take over the world, they're going to remember who was mean to them. But it's a great, and you can't break it. So play with it, figure
Yeah.
it out.
And even on that, Kevin, another point of that, I'm really dating myself here, but I'm sure a lot of the listeners can probably relate. I remember using the Dragon software way back in the day. Probably, and it was horrible, but at the day we thought it was kind of cool. It kind of worked. But now with the ability we have to do voice to text, not only can chat or Claude or anybody can we just talk and it can work with us, we can do that in any document, that we
Mhm.
do. And the other reason that we use that so much is we're always looking to be as efficient as we can, as productive as we can. And we can typically, most people can talk 4 or 5 times faster than what they can type. And so we can increase our productivity 4 or 5 times fold as well when
Yeah.
we're doing that. So
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, when we talk about talking to AI, one of the common phrases is or terms is prompts. And I know that you start your day with some high-level AI prompts that help you set your focus. And so can you share with us one that you use and tell us about the difference that it makes?
yeah, and you really, Kevin, that almost comes back to what we were just talking about. And, there's a lot of conversations out there. It's all about the prompt. Now, prompts are important on some level in regard to that. The but I start off typically having a conversation. Once again, very seldom am I prompting. Now, in an inadvertent way, when you're having conversation, you're kind of prompting through the conversation. But for me, it's not so much about the perfect prompt as once again having that conversation in the morning. Now, without showing it on the screen, which maybe one of these times we could actually even do a
Yeah.
demo. One of the things that I actually get every single morning from ChatGPT, which is you can set up what they call tasks, is every single morning I actually get a reminder automatically, comes from chat, and it's a motivational quote that is tied into my why, which is my family. So every single morning, before I'm starting, automatic at 6 a.m., I'm getting an email and I'm getting a notification with a really cool motivational quote, but that as it ties into my why. So that's something that I do for me, which is really powerful to start off my day. It kind of gets me off to a great start. I've already leveraged AI. I'm motivated. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it really gets me, moving forward on a positive note.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't done that, but I may adopt that because, we all wake up with all the things we've got to do in the day, and understanding your why is really important, can help keep you motivated. So that's a great use. Just to kind of go back because it's popped in my head. You mentioned, tell chat that you want to make $10,000 in the next 90 days. Or, I mean, that probably is jumping out to every appraiser out there saying, okay, well, that's great, but how do you do that? And you talked a little bit about diversifying. So
Yeah.
when you want to diversify, and you look at that niche that you're going to kind of move into, how can you use AI to connect you with the people in that niche, uh, develop a campaign to get the results that you want to see?
A couple things on that, Kevin. Boy, looking back, if I could start my career over, I'm like most appraisers where we kind of started as a generalist doing, lending type work over the years. Now I admire the appraisers who have actually gone off and niched and doing luxury things, or they're doing high end things, or they're doing, unique things that really protects almost their business. If I could have done it over again, I would just focus on estate work. I would have branded myself around estate
Yeah.
work. I would have focused strictly on just learning everything about that industry. And I have no doubt if I focused on building my brand and authority just in that space today, things would have happened a lot quicker for me. Now, moving forward, what can you do now that would be really beneficial to help you? How do you make that transition? As we talked about before, AI is just more than data analysis. So how can we leverage it to explore those opportunities and make it happen? Now, one thing in regards to marketing to estate attorneys, one of the things that we leveraged AI for to actually make this happen is what I've seen many times with the appraisers is they send out lots of emails or things to attorneys that are never going to convert, just kind of randomly throwing things against the wall. I did it, so I know that it doesn't work, and I've seen, even to this day, I still see that all the time. What it's important for appraisers to do first now, and that we can do with AI that we couldn't do before, is go into tools like Manus, manus.im. You could even do it in ChatGPT as well. But first, we want to understand what is the opportunity that we have. We just did a big campaign in the Phoenix area where we went in, we said, okay, AI, before we start doing any marketing, what is the actual even opportunity? How many estate attorneys are there even in the greater Phoenix area? Who are the top players? Who are the firms? We found one firm with 41 estate attorneys. So we did that research first. Then we even dropped that down and we researched the individual attorneys. And we used AI to do that. Where did they graduate? When did they graduate? What have they been a lawyer, or not a lawyer, but on the bench? Have they been a judge? Have they written any papers? Have they ever talked about or appraisals in the past? What associations are they a part of? What's the best way to reach out to them? So we use AI to go out and do all of this research. And now we can very easily say, okay, AI, now you understand the market. You understand the top players. You go out and do the research. And I'll give you, for instance, we had AI go out and, okay, who are the top 10 players? Great. You go into LinkedIn, learn everything you can about them, learn the best way to reach out to them, then create a campaign for each one individually, then go ahead and write out all of the emails and then automatically send them out, all automatically. And so those are things you're not going to learn to do at first. You're going to evolve into doing that, making this something you can do immediately. Go into chat, understand the opportunity in your market, then do the research and say, okay, AI, this is my business. This is our opportunity. How are we going to market to them now, knowing what we know about them? Because when we can personalize that marketing message, then we're going to convert a lot better than if we're just doing kind of random emails and reaching
Yeah.
out. So I'm not sure if that answered your question or if I got a
Yeah.
little bit sidetracked, Evan, but
No, but I think you bring up another really good point about AI, and that is the ability to personalize things. It's, we've all used Microsoft Word and we've gone to Excel and we've, filled in the things to try to make it personal. But AI takes that personalization to a whole different level. And I think that's a great point in terms of, getting your message out there and targeting people that are doing or can help you do what you want to do or get in that particular business. So that's a really good use of AI as well.
and just a quick tip for everybody in regards to if you're reaching out to an attorney or an estate attorney, whoever it might be, don't write an email that you think looks good to you. Most appraisers are not expert copywriters. I know I wasn't, many, many years ago. So what you want to do is if you are going to write some copy and you're going to do some outreach, make sure that you have AI analyze that. Say, I want you to act like an estate
Oh,
attorney.
yeah.
Would this email resonate with you? Would this email make you want to open it up? And so, get it from their perspective because now AI can take on any role. If you know that AI has analyzed, particular attorneys and you're writing a campaign, hey, AI, you know everything about this attorney now. Would this email resonate with them? And so, it's really powerful now when you can have AI take on different roles to help you with your messaging.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So, kind of along those lines, I've heard that you teach appraisers how to use AI for building referral relationships with real estate agents, which I think is, I
Yeah.
personally, I think that's really important. And I think it's overlooked in the appraisal industry. So, I'm curious, first of all, what kind of things do you do to build those relationships? Have you gotten any pushback? How do you address it? What does that look like from your perspective?
It's interesting, Kevin, on the dynamics of the appraiser realtor your relationship, right? There's
Yeah.
always been, I never fully understood it, this animosity between the bunch, right? And so many years ago, I'm looking at this, I'm like, boy, I speak a lot at real estate offices, and I have an opportunity here. I have an opportunity to be the good guy,
Yeah.
to be the bridge, the one that they come to, the one that they answer questions for, the one that they send the private work to. So even about 10, 11 years ago, one of the things that we came up with, I'm pretty sure we're the first to do it, is we were showing appraisers how to actually create a Facebook group for realtors in their area where now they could corral the realtors into their Facebook group where they could ask any questions. The appraiser could be the expert, and you could build these amazing relationships. And it worked really, really well. I think one of the appraisers we work with now, I think she has about 5,000 realtors in her Facebook group, and she gets an endless amount of private work and speaking opportunities and other opportunities because of it as well. Now, in regards to how can we leverage AI to even build those relationships, same thing, especially if you're building your brand and your authority, and we want to create valuable maybe content where we're not just selling to realtors. It's like, hey, I want to build my relationships with real estate agents. What can we do to provide them educational value around what we do as appraisers that's going to be a benefit to them and their business? How can we deliver this messaging to realtors so we're selling without selling? We're building our brand, we're giving value so that over time they're going to build trust, and over time they're going to start referring us their work. So once again, going in and having that conversation, for us, I can tell you that the majority of our lender, or rather our non-lender work, has come from realtor referrals, not so much from, hey, we got to, our realtor, they told us to give you a call, we need a date of death appraisal, whatever the case might be. What we have always done from the beginning is made sure that we call the attorney involved It's just a way to get in that door
Yeah.
and say, hey, we're doing this appraisal. I want to make sure that you don't need a current and a retrospective. Just want to make sure we're going to get everything handled well for you and we're on the same page. And then once we finish up the appraisal, we send them a nice email to the attorney. We follow up with them and a few other things. But all of those relationships have come mainly because of realtor referrals.
Yeah.
And so it's really powerful, I believe, in looking at the positive side and not so much focus on our industry on the negatives of that, because there's a real opportunity for appraisers who look at realtors as a plus,
Yeah.
to help them grow and diversify and do some other things in their business. So
I am so excited to hear you say that because for anybody listening who's been in a class with me, you know that somehow I always bring that up during the class. I think it's really important that we take the opportunity to build relationships with realtors, to get in front of their offices, explain what we do. And the more you build those relationships, the more not only are you helping the industry, but you're ultimately going to help yourself. So that's just very exciting for me to hear. And I hope that people take advantage of those tips and put those into practice. All right. So we know that all of this is here today. In fact, we're recording this on the day that ChatGPT 5.0 came out, the newest version of ChatGPT. Things keep changing. So from an AI perspective within the appraisal profession, what's the next frontier? How's it going to change the appraiser's role?
it's interesting, Kevin, on the new release that came out. We did a big national training webinar yesterday for appraisers, and 5 minutes before we were getting ready to do that, and we had tested everything using chat because we were doing a demo, GPT-5 rolls out, right? We're like, really bad timing because I don't know how this is going to perform now, with this new version. Now, moving forward, I don't know if I want a crystal ball or not where we're going with AI. I don't
Yeah.
believe it's going to remove or take our jobs whatsoever, but it's so hard to predict exactly what the next frontier is going to be. I know that it's going to change our roles without replacing us. It can help us analyze data better, work faster, provide more value to our clients, and trying to understand where it's going to go. I don't think any of us can really have a good idea what that is. It's growing so fast, so exponentially fast, where it's hard to predict. It's exciting for me. And 2 points on that I'd like to touch on is one, I do know a lot of appraisers like Roy. It keeps growing and continuing and evolving. If I go in and start learning things now, it's just going to be outdated tomorrow. So I'm just going to wait until it evolves a little bit more. And that is really a bad way to look at this, because if you do that, you are never going to implement anything, in regard to it, because it is going to continue to grow and evolve every single day. And so as far as the next frontier, I think for me, the real risk for appraisers is those who refuse to even consider it, because the appraisers that are anti-AI or are completely negative, not open to even wanting to understand it, let alone adopt it, they are the ones they're going to get blindsided. And we've heard many times over the years, the sky is falling in our industry, right? This is not one of those times. This is not one of those times that we can bury our heads in the sand and say, you know what? I'm going to ignore this AI thing. It's not going to affect me. I don't trust it. And by the way, with the new open models that you can download onto your system that are completely private, that argument has gone away.
Mm.
So I don't know really where we're going. I see a lot of things with some of the people that I work with that's really exciting to move forward with. Many times people think that I'm so pro AI, which I am. I love it. But also for me, one of the main things I want to focus on, why we spend so much time within AI as well, is, hey, there are things I'm concerned about. It's not all roses. And I feel like I'm doing a disservice to my family and our profession and those others if I don't do my best to be prepared. Hey,
Yeah.
what's coming down? I don't want to get blindsided with this as we go forward. So really that's my concern, is for the appraisers who are just, set on, nope, no AI, I'm not going to touch it, not going to do anything with it. I'm going to ignore it. And that's probably more where my concern is right now.
Yeah, that's a really good point about preparation. You know, to your point, the month I got into the appraisal business almost 40 years ago, I heard, "Enjoy your job now because you won't have it in 3 years," right? We've heard that some version of that every year. And like you, I don't think AI is gonna replace appraisers, but I do think it's gonna allow us to provide more value to our clients. It's gonna make us more efficient, and that's an exciting thing. So look at it that way, not like it's trying, to replace us.
Yep. And even on that, Kevin, going back to what we spoke earlier, if we learn the power that we have with this, for years, everybody's talking about, hey, I got to do more lender, non-lender. I want to diversify more. Very few people, if any, were really showing appraisers how to do that. You have this incredible strategist that can help you do that more quickly than what we've ever had the opportunity in history. If
Yeah,
you learn what AI is, how you can leverage it, how to use it strategically in your business, you have this incredible tool that is a positive, not a negative, that can drive your business forward.
yeah, absolutely. And this kinda leads into we have a couple more questions here, if you don't mind, but this kinda leads into the next question. I think one of the things that a lot of appraisers have become are that they just do lending work. They've gotten out of the how to get business, how to be an entrepreneur, right? Which is what I think a lot of people got into the business in the first place because they wanted to be an entrepreneur. They wanted to own their own business. And so I know you've raised your kids while you're building a lifestyle business. How do you teach entrepreneurship in day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's interesting on the entrepreneurship, and one of the things that I really have a passion for, and we do a lot of work with, is a younger generation in regards to AI and opportunities. The world that we grew up in is not the world that we're in now. The path that we followed is not going to be the path that Gen Z or the others follow, down the road.
Yeah.
And in regards to the AI conversation and entrepreneurship, first, a couple concerns I have is the slow to adopt in the US. And not so much from fear, but it's just from lack of understanding of what we have and how it can help us. And really pushing back on the younger generation and in our schools. If you look at countries like Japan, UAE, some of the others who are actively adopting AI into their curriculum, even in Japan at like a kindergarten level.
Wow.
Imagine these students that 12 years from now have adopted this, learned how to apply it to real life skills and other learning skills. To those who haven't, my fear is those who haven't are going to be so far behind.
Mhm.
And so, for the entrepreneurship part, one of the things like with our son, and it's funny, our son and daughter are opposites, love them both to death. Um, my daughter never wants to hear about AI, I think, because we talk about it too much in our household. She's younger. My son graduated at 16 while we were traveling. And one of the questions he gets asked all the time is, where are you going to college? And he's like, well, I'm not. Well, why aren't you? You're going to be a failure if you don't go to college. And they're like, well, why do I want to go to college? Well, so you can get a job. Well, why do I want to get a job? And we have this conversation. What he decided on his own was that, boy, I'm 17 now, 18. This AI has come into the world. I have this opportunity to be ahead of my entire generation. I have this opportunity to really learn and adopt and apply what I'm doing to end up being a leader. He's Gen Z in this, with what he's doing with AI and moving
Yeah.
forward. And
Yeah.
so he has been immersed in learning AI and leveraging it and applying it. And so for anybody, whether you are younger generation, our generation, you have this opportunity to leverage AI to help you in that entrepreneurship role. One thing I would even share, Kevin, on this is without divulging my age, because I'm probably older than most, if not all of the listeners on here. One of the things that has been really exciting for AI for all of us is the ability now for us to see results and do things much quicker than we could ever have done before. We have this incredible power where even for myself, I'm looking at projects where in the past there's no way I would have accepted those. But now things that we can work on and get real results in warp speed, it is so much fun to see what we can do. It's like a rejuvenation. For me, thinking early retirement now has gone to never retirement. And as far as the entrepreneurship role, same thing. Just always come back to the conversation. Hey, chat. I'm not sure what I want to do. I know I don't want to go down the traditional path. Here are some of my passions. I'd like to have a conversation with you. Maybe you can ask me some clarifying questions about some things that I'm passionate about, I like to do. And by the end of our conversation, I would love for us to come up with an idea that I can go down a path, maybe business wise or interest wise, and it can help guide you along that path and along the way. Same thing, conversation, clarity, moving forward. And one of the
Yeah.
great things about AI, just on this point, and maybe I've gone a little off topic, but one of the main reasons people don't succeed or appraisers don't move forward or are more successful or able to diversify as much as they want is we don't have clarity on how to get there.
Yeah.
Now with AI, you can go in and say, hey, chat, hey, Claude, hey, Manus, this is what I'd like to do, but I don't know how to get there. And now you have this incredible AI power to give you that clarity to get to where you want to go and even faster.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. All right. Last question, but we call this quick round. So I've got a couple of questions. We'll take them one at a time. What's
Okay.
one AI tool you can't live without?
Oh, but that's a tough one. The default is always going to be ChatGPT, but quite honestly, there are probably 10 that we can live up. But to answer one, it's still going to be ChatGPT at the top.
What's one book you're recommending?
That's actually a great question, Kevin, because one of the things I get asked all the time is how can I get better at AI? And where can I get better prompts? And they're surprised when I give the answer because the number one way for you to get better at AI is to improve your critical thinking skills. And as appraisers, you already have that. But where our focus is in, and even my son's focus and those we work with, how do we improve our critical thinking skills? Because when you can learn to think deeper, ask better questions, you are going to become far more successful. So to answer your question, there's a new book I just saw recently called Teaching with AI. And it's by C. Edward Watson. And I think the other co-authored by, I think it was Jose Bowen. So teaching with AI would be a great one to help you get started, understand what AI is, help you focus on your critical thinking, bring those things together. So that would be my book. That was a long-winded answer to your question.
No, but that's a great suggestion. Last question. One goal you're fired up about for next year?
Oh boy, there's a lot of those, but probably on a personal level for me, I am so excited to see how my son, with his ability, what he is learning with AI, the trajectory that he is off. So for me, really, the one that I'm fired up is like I cannot wait to see where he is going to be at his point in his life next year. He's 19, and I know it's going to be far ahead of where I was at my point when I was 19 in regard to that.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, on a personal level, it's really that excitement of where he's going to be in a year from now.
All right. Great. Well, Roy, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this conversation, how much we got out of it. You brought up that critical thinking thing at the end, and you got me thinking about something that I have to do next week. I'm going to go out and use ChatGPT to help me build a little presentation around that. So uh, thanks for triggering that. But as we wrap up, just one quick question, and I don't know, do you have how can people get a hold of you if they have questions? Do you have a website? Do you do anything publicly that you want to share?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And for those who are listening, quite honestly, I would mention that we actually have a free Facebook group, Kevin, called AI for Appraisers. And we share a lot of incredibly valuable information in there. We've got a couple thousand members in there already. That's probably the best way where somebody could reach me. If anybody would like to outreach on some of the other things, I'm happy to. Well, maybe I won't share my email because we do a lot
No,
of
that's
private stuff,
fine.
but I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, as well, if you want to send me a
Okay.
DM. But otherwise, I would just mention our group.
All right.
Thank you.
Perfect. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Beyond the Numbers. Again, big thanks to Roy for sharing his insights. I think if there's one takeaway from our conversation, It's that adapting to change doesn't have to mean losing what makes our profession valuable. It's about using the right tools to free up your time and focus on the work that matters most. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the show, share it with another appraiser who could use a fresh perspective. And as always, keep learning, keep adapting, and keep going beyond the numbers. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Thank you all very much. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Beyond the Numbers. If you'd like to stay at the forefront of appraisal news, boost your career, or just learn more about the profession, be sure to subscribe to Beyond the Numbers with McKissock Appraisal at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for stopping by.